Highly appropriate. Highly appropriate. Welcome to the Beef Off or Beef Out, whatever we're calling it these days. Episode 2, TMR. Joined as always. So it is a futile beef fight showdown with however many songs they managed to eke out, going head to head until forever, until we get bored and go back to the fall podcast. Joined as always by the Pemberton Walker. Remember, this is a video, so on your best behaviours, makeup on. Alistair, how you doing?
I'm all right, Brendan. I'm not used to this video stuff, though. It's all very weird.
It is indeed.
Witchcraft, that's what it is. Stealing my soul.
Steely Dan. And how is Steely Dan? Stealing yourself for this, Dan?
In the words of the beef on Sugar and Spikes, I'm going to see the navy blue vicar.
Voila. There's some absolute classics scattered through here, aren't they? I haven't written down as many as I wanted to, but I've picked the odd gem. So, DB, come to you first. What's we just mentioned off camera that we're not going to do the Wikipedia version of Trout Mousetrapreplica. There's a lot of videos, some very good ones actually out there about this album, but we just have to cover it contractually. So, having said that, what's your hot take on it?
I enjoy the record. It's not one that I come back to a lot because it's a long, difficult album, and not that I don't mind a long, difficult record from time to time, but there's some mixing issues that prevent it from being... obviously, you don't come to B.E.F.O.U.T for traditional pleasure, but there's still something about it that kind of pushes away. But it's obviously a brilliant record. And I don't know, I've been doing a little bit of kind of contextualization. Are we interested in this at this point, so early in the...
Let's drop it in later, because you're already throwing in the controversial mixing and now some de and recontextualization. Surely that should wait till...
Well, it's more
a random
kind of
point
like,
in the
what's
album
going on at this time in sort of far out music.
Yes. I also did a little, but I think I'd like to hear your take on it. So let's save that a little bit for when it inevitably pops up. And if not, midpoint, we'll take a breather and talk about the new thing.
Yeah, I guess the Too Long Didn't Read version of this it's my second favourite B.E.F.O.U.T album.
Oh, I won't inquire as to your favourite.
No, you won't.
But it's like my decals off, isn't it?
Say nothing.
Alistair.
Not at the Red Gas Station.
Oh, it's a good one, right? Alistair, what's your hot take on TMR?
Well, it's an LP which I used to listen to loads and loads and loads. So I'm kind of like desensitized to it. And I find it funny. It's an hilarious LP. I do tend to listen to it probably about at least once a year. It'll make its way onto the turntable. But it's been really nice listening to it for doing this. And I think I said it in the little WhatsApp group that we've got, that it's like an old friend. All the songs are like an old friend, because I'm not familiar with them. But I love this LP, and it is the LP which when I was asked Paul Static, he owns a record shop, which LP would you serve if your house was burning down? And I said Trout Replica, and he kind of said that was a sensible suggestion for me. So there you go.
For you, yes, he did tag that on at the end. He would have saved his entire Italian prog collection. That's what he would have been going back for. So yeah, I guess for me, probably more leaning towards the Dan end of the spectrum. That it's an album that I go back to once every couple of years to have a listen to, or the odd track will pop up. There's a bunch of songs, probably 8 or 9 songs that I barely had any recollection of at all. Steal Softly and Ant-Man B, other than maybe remembering a little bit of the hook, which again, if I'm doing a hot take, it's the hooks for me that maybe ruin this thing. I'll get into it a lot more as we get on there, but Man B and Sugar and Spikes, beautiful tunes ruined by nursery rhymes.
Because I listen to it so infrequently, like I think the last time I listened to it properly was about 3 years ago. Then before that, not for about a decade. And there's like entire songs that I forget exist. Like the titles, I look and go like, "There's a song on here called Wildlife." Like it just, but then some of them are just like that. Within half a second of it playing, it's like, oh, it's like this.
It's this one. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. And although there were quite a few that even with that I hadn't got, and they didn't turn out to move that far up in my rankings, which means that I was not remembering it for a reason that you could say that none of the stuff on this album is forgettable in the sense that if you only heard that one track, you'd be like, wow. But in the context of 20 odd of them, you're like, oh, there is a standard Trout mask sound. And actually, yeah, I'll get more into that as we go. Sam, who's a big B.E.F.O.U.T fan, he hasn't given us his votes this week, busy, and the 28 tracks or whatever it is a lot to rank. But he did tell me about a guy called Terry Tonkin who knew Don pretty well, and in his later years, they stayed at Don's house, and Don apparently told him the thing that everybody says about double albums, so that it would have been better as a single, you know. So it's an obvious thing to say, but coming from DVB himself, to think like, did he actually at some point think, because he tried to make a double, hadn't he, and failed, and that's what ended up with the what's on before? Strictly Personal?
Yeah.
That's the one, right? He ended up with that, right? So now Zappa turns up, and after rekindling their friendship, he offered him the ability to make this double record. So he's like, just jumped at the chance probably more than anything. But yeah, let's get into it. So we were lucky. The boys came through. 6 of us voted this week. So the 3 of us here, plus Chris, C, Schnur, and Leon also threw their ideas into the mix. And of all of we've done a lot of these voting style ones where a bunch of people come in. This is the closest. This is the top 4 or 5 were barely points apart from each other, and that's really unusual. In fact, when Snur just sent his votes in a little while ago, it almost shook the top place, but not quite. So anyway, and interestingly enough, very few getting 0 points. But we are going to start with a couple. One who's got 0 points, probably not because of the tune but mostly because of the lyrical content, which is Dachau Blues, and She's Too Much for My Mirror, which is probably suffers from being one of the most generic's the wrong word, but the easiest one to kind of one of the easiest ones to skip. So let's have a listen to Dachau Blues and Wildlife, and I'll get you your tuppence on it.
Dachau Blues, those poor Jews. Dachau Blues, those poor Jews. Dachau Blues, those poor Jews. Still crying about the burning back in World War II's. One madman, 60 million lose. Down in Dachau Blues, down in Dachau Blues. The world can't forget that misery, and the young ones now begging the old ones, please, to stop being madmen, for they have to tell their children about the burnings back in World War III.
Ooh, we got some videos. We got some adverts, but it's on a video now, so double. But it's all good fun for the fans, right? Shows our professionalism.
I have a famous version of She's Too Much for My Mirror. Note the clever slate.
I will not.
She's too much for my mirror. She almost makes me lose it. The way she abuse it make me never want to use it. I'm in your heart and mind, your soul. Oh, Chicago, she's the woman that make a young man a bum. She howl like the wind, make my heart grow cold.
I mean, the fact that sounds normal to my ears means these 2 weeks have done something. It's like that's barely out of a Rod Stewart territory. Anyway, Dachau Blues. DB and Quinty first, Dachau Blues and or She's Too Much for My Mirror.
Yeah, the late 60s, early 70s was not a banner period for sensitive recollections of the Holocaust, because we've got, not long off this, we've got Jerry Lewis's The Day the Clown Cried, which is still as yet unreleased. I couldn't tell in the first section, is he doing like a character, but then he sort of seems to slip into a more, I mean, it's not the right word to use for B.E.F.O.U.T, authentically B.E.F.O.U.T sincere voice. Yeah, it's just he is not the artist to be tackling things like this, whether Brechtian or sincere or otherwise. I agree with what you said early on. I think the tune is actually quite good. I quite like Dachau Blues. It was when it was on, I wasn't really listening to the lyrics. I was like, oh, this is a contender for the list. And then I listened to the lyrics. I was like, oh no, absolutely not. No one should give this points, and rightfully so. The other one I quite like, the bass sounds really nice, especially when you listen to it on headphones. It's got a very, but you're right, it sounds kind of normal, doesn't it? And the lyrics on that one, yeah, they don't do much for me, but like I think these, if these are your worst two songs, admittedly one of them has a dodgy lyric. I would say a genuinely dodgy lyric. I think you're in good territory.
I think dying in the ovens and dying by the dozens is one of the worst lines written in for so many reasons. It is absolutely the reason why nobody wants to go anywhere near this song. And yeah, it's hard to like. I think maybe there's some genuineness in there because, you know, he dealt with things like capitalism and in Plastic Factory in the same kind of cat-candid, naive way. It's just that this is a much heavier issue, and pointing towards potentially Pine Leaves by the Fall as a sensitive way to deal with although not as direct, a more sensitive way to deal with this issue, which is, again, if Marky Smith is showing you sensitivity, you have to be. It sounds like a Ween song. If this had popped up on a Ween album, you would have been like, yeah.
So one of the things that's been passing between us in our kind of WhatsApp chat is there's a couple of AI assisted remixes of this record, and I was looking at some of them. And under the one for the 2026 AI remix of Dachau Blues, it is people saying this is one of the greatest anti-war songs ever. So you may like your mileage may vary. We may just be two jaded cynics, and Alistair might be about to tell us why this is actually one of the great anti-war songs, right, Al?
Well, I never listen to lyrics, do I really? Only if they stand out. And there's a few on this LP which do stand out because they're just bonkers. Dachau Blues, I just kind of like overlook the lyrics and I just kind of like listen to the crazy guitar and drums on it and get my appreciation that way. I've never found it offensive, but yeah, like I can definitely agree with you that it's a little bit naive, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I'm not offended by it in the sense that if it was a Ween song, as they've tackled some subjects in deliberately offensive ways, it's like, all right, you know, that's that sort of humor. You take it or leave it, right? It's I just think, yeah.
I was just thinking, like to give it balance around about this time, like when in the 1990s, when I was listening to Trout Mask a lot, I was also listening to a lot of anal cunts. So, you know, when it comes down to offensive, they set a high benchmark.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for me, the phrase "never attribute to malice what can be attributed to stupidity" applies to this song.
And I think so. Whereas, yeah, the other side, she's too much for my mirror, snarky, Malcolmus-esque. That kind of the opening where there's note this, it's always Zapper, it's Malcolmus, it's that kind of like American middle class kind of like wordplay humor that actually I just was going to drop this in now because one of the charming things about the album is the fact that they pop up all the way through saying stuff, right? You know, whether it's Rocket Morton talking about laser beams or the Mascara Snake saying Christ when he can't get the Fast and Bulbous correct. It's sort of unique. There can't be many records where you hear the band like chipping in that many times. Having said that, the rest of the song is, I've written Van Morrison ? One of the least memorable songs. I think, good Van, if such a thing exists, but still it's like, which got me thinking about Tom Waits, and I went out a bit, listened to a few, what's the most B.E.F.O.U.T Tom Waits song, and I read that it is off. Tom Waits, he can fuck right off, can't he?
Can he just?
Hang on, so I mean, I'm not a Waits fan. Like, is that a consensus we've come to? We're not a Waits fan podcast.
I mean, he's as a bumbling tramp character. I hold no My list
I mean,
too.
I hate his 70s sort of crooner shits, and I guess I don't mind stuff after, but I don't own anything by him. I do like Van Morrison though, despite your protestations.
All right. Anyway, we've already managed to. Everybody's turned off by this point, but we've managed to like start right in, which of course is a perfect way to start a Trout Replica episode, right? You aren't going to make it if that stuff isn't ringing right up your Bell Street. Alrighty, so let's have a listen to what managed to get a couple of points. So wildlife, as mentioned earlier, Fallin Ditch and Ant-Man B all managed to get a single point. I won't go into the deets of who decided to throw a point the other way, but you can admit to it should it be you. But let's have a listen to those three maybe semi-memorable TMR tracks.
Wildlife, along with my life. I'm going up on the mountain for the rest of my life. Before they take my life, before they take my wildlife, before they take my wife. We got my mother and father, it ran down all my kin. Folks, I know I'm next. Wildlife, along with my wife. I'm going up on the mountain for the rest of my life. Before they take my wildlife, before they take my white ants running, black ants crawling, yellow ants dreaming, brown ants longing. All those people longing to be free. Hoodoo, and then be hoodoo, and then be. All the ants in God's garden.
Now we won't have to worry about Rocket Martin with any of those girls. Martin?
I run on beans.
When I get lonesome, the wind begin to moan. When I trip, fall in ditch, somebody wanna throw the dirt right down. When I feel like dying, the sun come out, stole my fear and gone. Who's afraid of the spirit with the blues for bones? Who's afraid of the falling ditch?
Who is afraid of this? Who is afraid of the fallen ditch? Ain't gonna get my bones. Alistair, wildlife, Ant-Man B, fallen ditch. Tell us your thoughts.
Wildlife, that's one that I definitely play to someone that was trying to get rid of out of my house. It's perfect for it. It's just mega annoying. But if you give it time, like, and you kind of like you listen to it closely, you can. There's really, really complicated rhythms going on, and it just sounds completely chaotic. There's people who just like love structure. That'd be an absolute fucking nightmare to them. So for that reason, I love that. I think it's great. Ant-Man B, he starts off really good, and then when you get the sax and clarinet or whatever it is towards the end, then you get that groove going on. That's just excellent. Again, there's some brilliant drumming. It's like it kind of breaks down, but breaks up. So yeah. I'd say that's probably one of the groovier ones, one of the more accessible ones that you can possibly play to someone and they might not want to throw up. Falling Ditch, it's another one that's good at the end. I don't think it's quite as groovy as some of the other ones on the LP, like Big Joan or something like that. But yeah, I definitely rate them all. But the thing is, the trouble is with me with this LP is I rate them all.
Well, it is, but the thing is, after I listened to it a bit, and at first it overwhelms you, right? And then you're like, oh, hold on. Then there's the three a cappella, and then there's China Pig, and then there's the three instrumentals, and then there's the two that are sung by somebody else. Then there's the two that were done in the other sessions, Moonlight and Vermont, and then you get this core. And interestingly enough, all these three songs end up in that core. That especially for me, Wildlife is the one where they've almost just taken what could have been a fairly trad 50s or 60s bubblegum or show tune kind of thing, and like Trout masked it up and basically like Don's basically singing a pop song over the top of an overly complicated Rube Goldberg version of a normal tune, which is not how most of them seem to my ears, but that one particularly did. It's almost like, hey, we got a nice tune here. I just switch on the Trout mask, put the Trout mask filter on it, and let it go. Having said, it is way down in my list, like almost to the bottom. Wildlife. I tell you what I think of the other two after we get thoughts from DB. What do you make of these three?
So Wildlife was at number 10 in my list. I think you shouldn't underestimate the ability to flip that switch and to beef up a trad song, because it's not, well, as we may discuss later, that's not just like an automatic process. It's a lovely kind of like shambling kind of non-groove. I don't know why he's singing at a volume where it sounds like he's trying to avoid waking someone, but I do like it. Are we just doing Wildlife, or do you want me to do the
all
others?
three? Hit me up with all three.
Ant-Man Bees, I like it more than I did when I listened to it and rated. It's kind of like a Bizarro World thing in Sesame Street. Like, I like one of the themes of this record that I really do like. You know, there's the sort of the anti-war stuff which kind of creeps up here, but I like all the kind of the animal hidden life of the world kind of stuff. I really like Ant-Man Bee. I think it's a good one. Falling Ditch feels like, yeah, if you were making a single album, Fallen Ditch gets the chop because it sounds like a less successful version of other things. Like, I realise that like traditional forms of beauty is not what this album has in its heart, but it is quite an ugly take on that sort of cubist composition.
It's interesting you say that cubist, because I've people come back to how it's little bits strung together and overlaid, and I know we've all dug into it in different ways this week, but I watched some of the interviews by I can't remember the guy's name, Andre something. He's the guy that did the Frownland. He deconstructed Frownland. He's a classical musician, but he did a good job of it. It's an older video now, but he took Frownland to pieces and really investigated. And now you can hear those videos where they've got all the stems, so you can actually hear what everyone's playing. And it's really he spoke to basically all the members of the Magic Band, and it was really interesting how they all interpreted it in their own way. That cubist nature, they'd sit with Don at the piano sometimes, obviously with John French interpreting, but apparently on quite a lot of them, until they got into the practice room together, they'd learned the parts individually, so they didn't know what the other people were playing. And the way it's constructed, the bass and the two guitars are all obviously playing not just different things. And this led me down a path into the harmonics, the Ornette Coleman stuff, of course. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, the path that it led me down, and again we'll talk about this later, is that what's really interesting about what's going on in '69 in music is like wild methodologies. It's not, I think it's not necessarily to do with the results. I think loads of these records we might talk about later don't sound at all like each other or like Trout Mousetrapreplica, but they're all kind of approached in this way that is kind of non-trad from a rock, jazz or classical standpoint.
Yeah, we'll hopefully name some of those names. But yeah, for me, the cubist thing that the bits put together, but also the thing that stands out a lot are those horizontal riffs, isn't it? So the notes aren't really moving that. There's not big like McCartney-esque leaps up and down. It's like they're playing riffs that were like they're kind of dirgy. They basically like almost they're just like they're just flat riffs, right? Just like hammering the same couple of notes and then going up one or two notes and then across. I mean, the blues by itself is described as horizontal. It's kind of a flat thing, but this takes it on like much further, where they're playing riffs that have maybe 2 or 3 notes in, but they're hammering them.
Well, I think in that respect, I think there is not a direct comparison, but an indirect comparison between this and something like Piano Phase, where it's like two very simple things, but like done at a tiny different speed, so they never sound the same at any point.
You're right. The thing is about the chaotic thing, and I've written down here, is that a lot of albums that are seen as difficult and avant-garde, their noise is so maybe a Merzbow or something like that noise, or very aggressive, so any of the Mike Patton stuff or things like that, John Zorn's, a lot of that stuff, and it's like actually this is or negative kind of vibes coming from it. A lot of the noise scene or whatever, it's like it's about filth and noise. This is very positive. It's like 60s album in terms of it. I know the guitars have distortion on them, but they're not. It's not an overdriven sound generally. It's actually quite a light sound, and the lyric, and he's got quite a pleasant voice in some ways as a bluesy kind of thing, and it's like, yeah, all the elements together, none of them are particularly offensive until you clump them all together into this kind of Rubik's Cube kind of puzzle.
I agree. It's like he's got very puppy doggish energy, and he's like, I think of B.E.F.O.U.T as like a kids' TV presenter. Like there's like an off-kilter energy there. I think what really sets this apart from all of its peers at the time in all these other forms of like far-out music is it's the most playful and positive and approachable from a certain standpoint.
Yeah. So when we look at that list of like out there jazz experimental albums and stuff, and even stuff like Zappa. Like Zappa's much more cynical, right? That one's got this childish kind of energy. However, we're not doing the Wikipedia thing, but the first thing anyone knows about this album is how he ran the house for the year they were there together, which was Manson-esque, it has been described as. But and those videos where the band are talking about it from their perspective, it is really it's grim at times. It's real grim at times. Oh God!
I think there's a bit of Stockholm syndrome in there as well, though.
I mean, I don't know. He does talk. Bill Harkle talks about why he stuck around and why he came back later and things like that. And I think it's not as easy as I would have just run. I would have smacked Don around the chops and run for the hills. It's like I don't know. When you're in it. When you're making the greatest double album of all time. But I think one thing I will say before we do move on is that these would have been 3 that almost certainly would have been chopped if it had been a single album, or a very good chance all 3 would have gone, and it would have been a big loss. So I think just like with the White Album, I don't accept as better as a single album. Lots of albums doubles are, of course, right, but no, I'm putting my flag in the sand. So next up, we got the Blimp and Sweet Sweet Bulbs, Neon, Meat Dream and Octafish, and China Pig. So the Blimp and Sweet Bulbs got 2 points each, and the Neon, Meat Dream and China Pig both managed to get 4. I give China Pig 4. I'm guessing somebody else just gave who is it? Leon gave Neon Meat 4. Let's have a gander. It's the Blimp. That's a fun one, isn't it?
It is.
Where is it at? We're going to get an advert while we're going to look at this. Normally people of our age, like when you watch kids doing their YouTube videos, they'll do this kind of shit where they're just scrolling through YouTube live on their videos. But like old people, they'll have the vinyl and they'll put it on a record player. It's like I said that says more about our lack of professionalism than our youthfulness. I can't even remember what song I'm looking for. Here we go. It's the Blimp.
You ready?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, go.
Master, this is recorded through a fly here, and you have to have a fly's eye to see it. It's the thing that's gonna make Captain Beefheart and his magic band fat. Frank, it's the big hit.
こんな時は
Ooh,
ぼーっとしてしまう。
君はどう
Can you
も。
believe it? Can you even believe
こん
it?
な時
It's the blimp, Frank, it's the blimp. When I see you floating down the gutter, I'll give you a blimp, the mothership, the brothers hid under their hood.
Sweet, 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 sweet bulbs grow in my latest garden. Wow, 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 sun singers wave in my latest garden. Loud dance, their faces brave. Come talk freely in the garden of my lady. The harmony smile, the harmony snatch. Only a crow would peck and a chicken would scratch. Her lips turn.
Lucid tentacles test in sleeve, in join, in jointed jade pointed diamondback patterns. Neon meat dream of a octafish. Artifact on rose petals, in flesh petals and pots. Fact in feast, in tubes, tubs, bulbs, ingest, incest, ingest, injust, in feast, incest. In specks, in speckled, speculation.
Speckled speculations. Whew. Alistair. Yeah, chip in on any or all of those. The blimp, the bulbs, the pig, or the neon meat dream.
He's muted.
He's
He's done it again.
muted. He's muted. Brilliant.
Back in the room. Yeah, I'll go in random order. Sweet bulbs. Starts off slow but gathers momentum. It's really kind of chaotic sounding. It sounds like all the instruments are fighting with each other. And again, that's something that I quite like. And it's pretty annoying as well. Neon Meat Dream of a Octafish. Again, I think that's the kind of title that has influenced the fall. When you get some of the more obscure kind of like, what the hell does that mean? Like, the Mike Loves Hexagon or something like that, But yeah, the wind instrument on that is mad. And there's some great kind of like mad ranting over it. And it's got a groove to it. So it ticks a few boxes for me, that. China Pig, I think, is probably the most accessible song on this LP. I remember sticking it on a comp tape back in the 90s. It used to turn out one every few months. And it probably used a lot of Trout mask on those over the years. And as standalone tracks, they work really well. And this one did work really well on a oldie compy tape. And what was the other one?
We got the blimp.
The blimp.
Oh yeah, that's just like summing off Hot Rats, isn't it? But again, it's nice. There's a groove to it. And I think it's one that you can play it to someone and it wouldn't make them want to be sick immediately.
No, it's I can't remember whether I got this right, but I'm not sure the music actually is a mother's invention track. I think it is. I think basically Zappa recorded the vocals down the phone by Jeff Cotton, and then them just stuck that mother's track underneath it. When you say Hot Rats, I mean that's what he was working on at the time. Uncle Meate and Hot Rats came out the same year as Trout Mask, and I'm not a big Zappa fan at all. But other than the funny poppy stuff, the first couple, that's like Uncle Meate and Hot Rats is like, I don't need to go any further with Zappa as he goes off into his kind of guitar explorations and jazz explorations. That does it all for me.
You just like the doo-wop stuff.
Exactly. Ruben and the Jets, or whatever it was. But DB, what do you reckon to these four?
Let's do them in alphabetical order. So China Pig, it's like Paintwork, but by Captain Beef.
Did you do that on purpose? Let's do the alphabetical order and then jumped over the two that begin with B. Oh no, they
Well,
don't. They just have
the
bees in
blimp.
them. Fair enough.
It's the most accessible. It's probably the most throwaway for me. Neon Meat almost made my list. I think if I did it again today, it would. Like, it's frantic, it's head spinning, nice bit of cowbell work. It reminds me of, I mean, admittedly, a much later band called B.E.E.F.O.U.T, who spud into nothingness, but I liked them.
Right.
Sweet, like, just because they had this kind of very sort of tropicalia kind of thing. It was like punk, but with like a bit of cowbell, and the guitars sounded like steel drums. I really liked them. Sweet Bulbs, trippy, delightful, an almost danceable dirge. I'm channeling Stu's eloquence here, but I'm just trying to like write short phrases to not kill too much time. And the Blimp, yeah, it's an oddly, I know it's what you say, it's a Zappa thing. I didn't know that. I've not Wikipedia'd at all here. It's just there's something very kind of like martial about it. There's something like a playful, almost military ditty kind of thing. I like it. I like that kind of titting about on the phone kind of vocal. It works over a double album to not, I don't want to say break things up, because that makes it sound like you're bored of the main event. But yeah, it gives you it's a cornucopia. It gives you a whole kind of like array of sounds. And I think this contributes really well to the whole overall feeling on its own. Maybe it's not as special as others.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about the idea of this breaking things up. I wonder how intentional it is, because each of the four sides, if you count this as one of the four kind of home recordings that they did, the other three are the a cappella ones that they were all done on the tape recorder at the house. That's China Pig I'm talking about now. That each one of them appears on each side of the record. So it is almost like a little skit or an interim thing. Yeah, and they all appear kind of in the middle-ish of each side. I mean, The Dust is the second track, but they all kind of appear somewhere in the middle-ish of the side. That's not true at all, because Orange Clawhammer is the first track on side 4, but I think I've made my point.
My view of this is, and I don't think this is a deliberate thing. And if someone out there in the internet, or even just one of you two, wants to tell me that I'm wrong, I think that this is like sort of music hall, in the sense that it's like lots of things, lots of little things, keep your attention. And I don't just think that they've kind of like programmatically designed it like this, but maybe that's, there are definitely some kind of pre-mass media influences here. Like the earlier forms of like American entertainment that they've possibly like absorbed osmotically, maybe.
Well, the kind of cheekiness of the Beatles kind of press conferences, or the fact that the Monkeys, what number is this? 7A. It's like those kind of things at the beginning of songs were not unusual. And I mean,
no.
But the idea that Bonzo Dog, and I don't know like how this timeline plays out, whether they would have even possibly heard each other. But yeah, I think maybe not by design per se, but just kind of like, oh, this does keep it interesting. This is a little bit of a mix, because he's sort of done that on every album. It's each album is relatively eclectic within its little mini genre. I think one of the things about Neon Meat Dream is it features a couple of those kind of really cheeky, cheesy riffs that are it reminded me of the snooker theme off so it's like at least a few of them are now. I think I mentioned somebody's like Sugar and Spikes, that reminds me of Ghostbusters. There's a few where those kind of things pop up. The Blimp, I mean, the vocals on this, and also the vocals on Pena, which are the two that have other people singing, are, again, just make it stand out, make it really cool. And it's like, I think unlike where we dismiss some of the Fall stuff that doesn't have Smith on it, the instrumentals and the non-Don stuff on this, I think still, in my mind, 100% are part of this record and equal. Although, I do end up leaning somewhat towards the novelty in my lists, and I have to check myself about whether I'm just putting the ones in that manage to hook my attention. Sweet Bob, Trout Mass by numbers. I have once again dismissed, and I get your point about not being about the switch going on and off, and I do understand that when you're composing songs, you don't know until they're finished which ones are going to have that hook. And so it's kind of, he's just falling forward into these songs, and some of them are going to have fewer memorable moments, although they're all somebody's favorite. Yeah. China Pig, yeah. It's just a bluesy, it's like, hey, you know what? We could do a bunch of these bluesy songs if we wanted to, and it'd be absolutely fine. Yeah, why not? I scored it. I gave it all its points because it's got a charm to it. Yeah, but that kind of takes us. Any more on those, or shall we move on to the next batch?
Move on.
Move it on.
Let's move on. So that takes us to the ones that got a bit more love. We got 6 and 7 points. We've got Dali's Car, Well, Bill's Corpse, and Hobo Chang Bar. Let's have a listen.
Hideously looking back at what once was beautiful, playing naturally, magically. Oh, her ragged hair was shining, red, white, and blue. Have done this if you knew what you were doing. Screaming, why surely, madam, you must be dreaming. You couldn't have lied.
I just needed to listen to that. Well, surely, madam. That I think it's my favorite line on the album.
It floats down the river on a red raft of blood. Night blocks out the heaven like a big black shiny bug. It's hard, soft, shell shining, white in one spot. Well, it's hard place that I'm living, but I'm doing well. Star Wars claw landing my jaw. I can't call it music, it's just something soothing. Feather time's a feather, morning time to thaw. Hobo Chamber, Hobo Chamber.
Hobo Chamber, absolutely love that one. I think I gave it all of its points. No, most of it. Somebody else gave it a couple. Yeah, I'll give it a couple. I gave it 5. For me, Dali's Car, really love it. It's very mathy. It's actually, there's a slinty chord in there. There's a chord about the way it's the harmonics, right? About 30 seconds in, it's like it's just a slint chord perfectly. It's really cool, and I think you could play that for somebody and say it was from the 90s, and nobody would question that, which is a good thing because the 90s were really good. The best decade ever, as some people might say. But not me. Well, on the other hand, but is that a Paul Robeson knockoff? Is he doing a voice there? He's very skirting very. I know I know the whole shtick of Don is doing, kind of the Howling Wolf voice, which is fair enough, right? But similar to Smith on Damo Suzuki, is he doing a voice? Regardless aside, it's just a bluesy hollering kind of. He does very little for me. Bill's Corpse is the one, obviously, because it's always referenced when we talk about Bill is dead and things like that, and but it's the one that's grown on me more and more because one of the ones at the beginning I did think, oh, this is like just a Trout masky kind of, similar to what I said about Wildlife and some of the others. It's like, but no, I think there's a lot going on, and I love his vocal delivery, which is a little bit not as wild as Hobo Chang, but it's a little bit off from what he normally does. And he sings about the former heap, which is almost identical to Robin Williams, Robin Williams' son from Incredible String Band. That's how he sings all of his. Not the Popeye actor. Rest in peace.
I thought you meant Robbie Williams.
All right, exactly.
Let's take that.
So that's I guess that's some of my take on it. But Hobo Chang are absolutely amazing. Billy's Corpse has gone up the list. You Should Have Us All. You Should Have Us Fall. Absolutely. DB, go ahead. What do you make?
Yeah, not a huge fan of Well. You covered it pretty well though. Hobo Chang Bar, yeah, like it's growing on me. It's like kind of very spidery and like...
the vocal, it's just wild. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's doing a proper stupid vocal, which I'm sure Alistair loves.
Yeah, the other two are the ones I want to focus on just a little bit. Dali's Car, I agree with what you say. It could sound 90s. What it reminded me of is I've seen these like YouTube videos where people play like riffs or notation upside down. So it sounds like kind of the inversion of the actual familiar melody.
What's he called? That's the Jacob Collier thing, isn't it? It's
yeah. Well, I mean,
you know what it's called.
We're gonna do Collier off later, obviously.
You know what it's called. Inverse harmony. I don't know. It's like whatever.
Yeah. Well, he's big into like negative harmony.
Negative harmony. That's the one.
But like it sounds like that to me. And yeah, I guess all I'm waiting for is like a really sick angular groove to come in off the back of it because it just does. But in speaking of kind of like 90s almost noise rock, Bill's fucking Corpse, man. What a shit. That I think I gave it most of its points. There's a band that had a record out a couple of years ago. I'm wondering if you've heard of this band called Gay Cum Daddies. And like the first song off their album just sounds like Bill's Corpse gone AWOL. Like it's just they're insane and it's incredible. Bill's Corpse is the kind of the footprint of that song. I love it. I kind of wish I'd put it a bit higher, but I just thought, like, I guess in a way you have to vote tactically, don't you, to try and get through some songs. I'd be wasted a tenner on a Bill's Corpse, I felt.
But yeah, maybe... you gave it 6, I think. Had you given it 10, it would have it wouldn't have made the playoffs.
I don't know how I can read the minds of 2 people who I only speak to once a week and 3 people I've never met in my life, but I think I can. But yeah, Bill's Corpse is amazing. I'd say that's top 3 on the album for me.
Oh, it's grown on me. If we did another in a couple of weeks, it would have probably made my top 5. And it's kind of hard to say why, because it doesn't. I mean, his vocals, I think, and the lyrics, this idea. I mean, we're probably not going to dig too deeply into the lyrics this time around, but this nature of the idea of somebody looking back at their partner's corpse and saying, "We got to move on. You got to live your life." It's kind of like that's one interpretation of it. Anyway, it's like, yeah. As badly as you handled the war stuff earlier, it seems like you're kind of getting to grips with the grief at least. Speaking of grief, Alistair, give us some. We have Dali's Car, Hobo Chang Bar, Well, and Bill's Corpse.
I pretty much agree with everything that's been said by you. So, Well, that reminds me of, I don't know, kind of like a religious thing, like how somebody might sing a psalm in church.
It's spiritual, like, it's not far off of spiritual,
but yeah, it's not one of my favourites on the LP, but I still like it. Hobo Chang Bar, oh yeah. Marathon start, and it gets melodic in the middle as well, which is really entertaining. And it works quite well, and it's very nice. But the all the way through it, the drums are just all over the shop, and excellent vocal delivery. I can't fault it at all. I probably been influenced by that at some point. Maybe when we did that I Am a Rock with many years ago. Dali's Car, the guitar. You can't fault it at all. Bill's Corpse. Again, some more crazy ass shit with the mad sounding bloke ranting over the top.
Absolutely, it's gold, and the level of depth that we went into in the forecast, we were spoiled. We're spoiled because there's so much stuff here that I'd love to dig into much more. Hopefully, some of this stuff. Well, I know this won't because it's going out, but hopefully, some of the stuff we want to talk about in more detail will get through to round two, the last 32, but it will not be Dali's car or honking on Bobo. Um, so what that does take us to is I'll just play a couple now. Just blows forward an old fart at play, and I'll throw Pena in there as well because otherwise we'll be here all bloody day.
Fast and bulbous.
Fast and bulbous.
Hey, do it again.
I love that.
Fast and bulbous.
That's right, the mascara snake. Fast and bulbous. Mascara snake.
Pena, her little head clinking like a barrel of red velvet balls, full pass noise. Treats filled her eyes, turning them yellow like enamel-coated tacks. Soft like butter, hard not to pour. Out enjoying the sun while sitting on a turned-on waffle iron. Smoke billowing up from between her legs made me vomit beautifully and crush a chandelier. Fall on my stomach and view her from 1,000 different facets. Liquid red salt ran.
There's old Gray with her dove-wing hat. There's old Green with her sewing machine. Where's the bobbin at? It's toting old grain in a printed sack. The dust blows forward and the dust blows back. And the wind blows black through the sky. And the smokestack blows up in the sun's eye. When am I gonna die? A white flake river.
Happy with the khaki sweatband, bowed goat pot-bellied barnyard that only he noticed. The old fart was smart. The old gold cloth Madonna. Dancing to the fiddle and saw, he ran down behind the knoll and slipped on his wooden fish head. The mouth worked and snapped all the bees back to the bungalow. Mama was flattening lard with her red enameled rolling pin when the fish head broke the window, rubber eye erect and precisely deep. Bologna jealous observed intricate rainbow trout replica. The old where the holes had just been a moment through his important breather holes. Cleverly he dialed from within. From the outside we observed that the nose of the wooden mask where the holes had just been a moment ago.
The holes of the wooden mask where the thing had just been a moment ago. That for me is almost exactly the same cadence and almost exactly the same words as New Face in Hell. Whatever he says about with it, wanting his the neighbor's approval or whatever it is. I would have made a much better point had I quoted either of the things accurately. But whatever. Alistair, what do you make of Pena? The dust blows back and the dust blows, whatever it does, and all fart in hell. What do you reckon?
All fart at play. I think that sounds like it could be something off like my decals off Baby. It's got that feel to it. Don't know why, but like it, great song. Pena, right, love the vocals on that. It's probably one of my favourite ever vocal performances on a song. And you know how much of a big fan of Pinky and Perky I am as well, so that's a real compliment from me. But yeah, it's mega annoying. I don't think you could make it any more annoying if you tried. So it's quite a feat. Dust blows forward. I find that really soothing. Reminds me a bit of Ivor Cutler, but obviously with B.E.E.F.O.U.T's voice. But it's that kind of approach to his poetry. Yeah,
it's for me, Beck, One Foot in the Grave ripped that off entirely. He does it about 3 or 4 times on the album, where even the stopping of the cassette, where he's kind of like thinking of the next line, or he's messed it up, or whatever he's doing, which I actually love. I think it's a great Beck album, but Don does it better. DB, what do you reckon? Pena, dust and fart.
So the first part of Pena is like fast show B.E.F.O.U.T, and my mileage varies depending on my mood. The second half of it, I think it's his best lyrics on the record. I think like it's really good poetry, but like I literally wrote, "This is a song for Alistair." It's just, I do find it a little bit on the shrill and annoying side, but the words are fantastic, so there's still something there for me. Dust Blows Forward and the Dust Blows Back is a song that used to feature heavily in our mixtapes for N64 sessions, because it's kind of funny and lighthearted, and we'd all chuckle along to it, and I still get a lot out of it now. But it's, it's a bit slight compared to other stuff, but I enjoy it as a bluesy kind of, revisiting. All thought I wrote, and this you can interpret this as a positive or a negative depending on your view. This is Trout-Replica's median song. It is the net average of the album.
The only thing I would push back against that is because it's spoken word, they're not singing. But musically, yeah, 100%. And I love the fact that they run out of music and he hasn't finished his story, so he just carries on, and then he tags on a little bit at the end that clearly recorded on a cassette later or before.
I feel I've accounted for those experimental flourishes in my answer there, and will not justify myself any further, nor countenance your pushback.
No need to. But what I think this suffers from in my list, although Pena did score high, I know Play got quite high as well, but it's where I'm like, should I, given my top 5 to not give too many spoilers, lean a little bit too heavy on the novelty side, like even for my own liking of like, all right, Pena, it's and this is one David Lynch actually did a pretty cool cover of it where he's reading it. Arabon Reda, it's like the voice is like that kind of super whiny, which I absolutely love. It's like I'd listen to the full album of this horror. Whereas the Dust Flows Forward and the Dust Blows Back, or whatever it's called, it's like other than you talking about a crimped up Colt Cannon, you'll always get me if you mention crimping. It's the least I'd say Orange Claw of the acapella is so much better than the other two. This one's got a kind of dusty Americana feel, which I do kind of, has a bit of a charm, and it's a bold move to stick it second on the album, because Frownland's such a very strong opener. I would say medium's it's not a medium, but it's the one that's most indicative of the success of Trout Mask in my mind. When we get to it, I'll unpack that a little bit more, but it's an interesting opening gambit of Frownland, The Wind, and then Dachau Blues as your opening gambit. And I think that's conscious. I think in their mind, just like when Sun Ra wrote Nuclear War as a hit single, Don really thought that was front loading the album for pop chart success. I think. And let's have a look at where the points came from. So Pena, I gave it 8. We're now starting to get, these appearing in a few. I'll give Pena a few points. Dust Blows, I gave somebody must have given it. Oh yeah, Chris C gave it 8 points. He's a big fan. That basically got him most of it. And all fact, most of the points came from me. So we're still very much in songs that are one person's favorite. However, that has to change. We are now going into the last 4 songs before the playoff. We've got Her Pie. I've collapsed versions in 1 and 2. You can sue me if you like. And Frownland, Steal Softly Through Snow, and Pachuco, Cadaver. DB, how are you doing for time? I know you got to run. You okay for?
Let's just. I'm focused on this. This is my priority now.
Very good. And the rest of
I was only going to a football match. It's not end of the world stuff.
No, it's end of the season stuff. So let's have a listen. Her Pie, Her Piece, Bed Piece, Flaming. I'll play both. Yeah, want to the product placement. We'll probably actually get dinged for product placement in this thing, but not the good type where Starbucks give us some free coffee or money. The bad type where they ban us in the former Yugoslavia, as Don would have called it.
Paper between a mirror breaks my heart. The moon frayed through dark velvet lightly apart. Steals softly through sunshine. Steals softly through snow. The wild goose flies from winter. Breaks my heart that I can't go. Energy flies. A squid eating dough in a polyethylene bag is fast and bulbous. Got me?
Loving make me so happy. If I smile, I crack my chin. Her eyes are so peaceful. Thinks it's heaven she be. My smile is stuck. I cannot go back to your Frownland. My spirit's made up of the ocean and the sky and the sun and the moon. In all I can see.
Yeah, I was saying earlier, I think Frownland is perfect opener for the album because I think it right in the middle, it's not got a cheesy, silly sing-along chorus, but it is very hooky. The riffs are actually memorable, but while at the same time being the totally off-kilter. Yeah, I think it's a really good open track and it sets the scene. And if you can't get past Frownland, you are not going to enjoy the rest of this record. But Al, what do you reckon about that bunch there? We got Her Pie, Frownland, Steal Softly, and Pachuco Cadaver. He's done it again.
He's done it.
Well done, mate. Yeah, but as you said, Frownland, brilliant start to the album. Proper, like, sets the stall. I was thinking, reminding me of, it might be a theme park in Morecambe, Frownland. And then that got me thinking of Action Park. Do you know about Action Park? They've got the shellac at Action Park.
Oh, yeah.
It was a water park in the US that they had closed down because that many people got killed.
There's a really good documentary about it called Class Action Park.
Wow.
I might check that out. What else did we have there then? Her Pie, bakes 1 and 2. Both different bakes, both brilliant though. You've got some great stuff with the wind instruments, and it's just nasty stuff at times, which I find it very entertaining. And the crazier that gets the better, and it's the kind of like Animal Torture sort of wind instruments that I've grown to love. With people like Braxton and Art Ensemble of Chicago, that kind of thing. We also had Pachuco Cadaver. Again, it's like more the jazzy avant-garde sort of stuff. In the song keeps on developing, it keeps on moving as it goes along. And for me, it's when the clarinet takes over it from the vocals at the end, that just really nails it for me. What else did we have? Steal Softly. Yeah. Love some of the sound changes in it. Keeps me engaged throughout. It ebbs and flows as it goes along. It keeps me engaged. And great tune.
I love the fact that you referred to the Her Pies as different bakes because it is what you would have wanted, isn't it? DB, what did that batch do for you?
Well, a question to the more jazz literate, i.e. you two. What does Her Pie do for the real jazz bow? Because is it this a guy playing it, the jazz that's going on at the time, or is this legit jazz?
I have literally written down Ornette Coleman slowed down, which is what it sounded like to me. So if you listen to free jazz, for example, the album, for me, Her Pie, and I'm sure that the real jazz boys are out there with their jazz arrows pointed at the screen right now. But for me, you put free jazz on 78, and that's what you get.
Well, to me, a jazz ignoramus, although a jazz enthusiast, this sounds like legitimate. Like I feel, but like I might be wrong. Like that's because I'm stupid, but I quite like it. But it fulfills a kind of a role on the album that's not really there for individual consumption. Frownland, I think, is great, although it does kind of contribute to the reason why Trout Mask Replica is Gen X meme album Trout Mask Replica, right? Because it's the one that everyone listens to, tries to dissect, and then goes no further. Is that there's a reason people don't talk as much about Bill's corpse because they don't get there, right? I really like it, and I just love the way that, like, yeah, it's kind of like 30 seconds where you realize, like, I'm not going to get into this because, like, the song has gone into like a sort of a not quite double time mash and the time signatures change, and I love that. I love it. It just throws it out there and says, "This is what we are." But yeah,
and I think that's deliberate. I think that is the conscious decision, and you know, the more cynical, given that this is on Zappa's label, and he had a literal label called Bizarre and Straight for weird and less weird music, and he basically said, "We want to make this record that's weird." So it's like. Again, that's the perfect one because it tells you everything you need to know about the rep.
Yeah, and there's a kind of I think if you do stick around, you'll get stuff like Still Softly, which does like throw in like actual melodies, kind of conventional melodies to sort of say like, look, we can do it. We're choosing not to, and to quote Stuart Lee, right?
Aye.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I was tracking lyrics. Like, there's also like some of these songs are connected by being kind of like fairly uncynical love stories. Like, you know, there's this woman and she's fit and I like her, right? Yeah. I like that. Pachuco Cadaver, I think, is again. Okay, so like one of the kind of the mythologies of the record is the whole Fast and Bulbous tapered also. Like I'm not into that so much. I mean, it's not that I don't like it to listen to it. I don't it's the second life it has on the internet I'm not into, right? However, the bass playing on this, like whenever I lose my anchor with Trout Mask, I go to the bass because it just kind of like it's more solid than the drums, right? I think this is like Bill's Corpse, some like absolutely sick bassing. Yeah. Pachuco just missed out for me, I think.
Well, let's have a look at what people voted. So Leon put Pachuco as his number one. So there's 10 points right there for that, which got a good way up because I think he only got 17 points or something like that. Still Softly, like I said, Chris C put it as his second. I don't know if anyone else has put any of these.
I had Frownland quite low, like 8.
Yeah, well, Frownland, I put Frownland about 5th, but I think nobody had any of these others like up towards the top. Still Softly is a little bit of a revelation in that it is growing on me little by little. That it is the softest and most romantic of the whole bunch, and I think it's one of the ones that I couldn't remember, and I kept going back to it and I still couldn't remember much, and then it started to kind of worm its way in, just because of its sweetness and its softness. Pachuco Cadaver, I think the funny lyrics about driving a cartoon or basically loving his car more than his girl or whatever the whole idea is, and then you got a funky riff coming in again, ding 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 ding, the same the same BBC theme tune riffage coming in, which sort of takes me out of it, but it also kind of likes it. It's like, you got this. It's people like Zorn doing the Naked City stuff or whatever, where 3 bars of a jazz tune will come in, and for me it's not as successful generally when you do that, whereas the fact is like this, when he does a silly vocal or a silly bass riff and it's kind of woven into it, if I'm in the right mood it makes the song better. If not, I'm turning it off. Similar to Sugar and Spikes, which got a lot of points from people, very few from me for that reason. It's like I hit that chorus and I'm like, I don't need that.
Well, I think this question of like humor and lightheartedness, I mean, like, again, it kind of connects to the other records that are out this year. But like, I mean, one of the people I was thinking about when I was listening to this record or considering the lyrics is like Stanley Unwin, not an avant-garde musician by any stretch, but someone who loves language and plays with it in a really interesting way.
And also featured heavily on a record, I think, from this year.
Really?
Ogden's Nut Gone Flake. He does the voiceover on it, and that was 68, right? Small Faces. And interestingly, Small Faces, was a big comparison point for me on their first record, but less so on Trout Mask Replica. So there we go. maybe DB, this is the time to take a little bit of a detour before we hit the playoffs because we are now. Did I tell you how many points those got? Yeah, Hope I got 12, Frownland got 14, Steel Softly 14, Pachuco Cadaver got 17. So almost made it to the playoffs. So what that means is we basically got the 3 showdowns plus the one that went through automatically, and you'll have to guess which ones. But yeah, you want to take a slight detour. Again, if time allows. If not, I'm happy to.
I'll keep this as brief as because all I've got is some notes here. Okay, so my thesis of this record is, and like that's an extravagant way of saying it, I don't think there's anything really like it, and I don't necessarily just mean that. Like, I don't think even stuff that's copied it actually sounds that much like it. But like at the time, when you look at what's going on at the time, it really does seem to come out of nothing. And I'm going to argue here that there's only really one other record of 69 that sounds a bit like it. And I'll come to that. And if you want to try and maybe you can guess, but I'll throw it over to you to guess when I get there. So like I've split music into like some general categories. So like what you've got at this in 69, you've got like a lot of like Moog pop electronics records that come out. So like Beaver and Krauser would come out. There's lots of those switched on back kind of things.
Silver Apples,
yeah. Yeah, well, exactly. Then you've got like experimental rock, and I've put Silver Apples under that. So Contact comes out, Almond Dull's Fallis Day comes out, Soft Machine 2. You know, there's some play in those records, but it's not quite the same, I would argue.
Red Crayola.
Yeah, I guess that is a bit closer, actually. I'd not really thought about that one. You've also got like the real kind of adoption of the EMS synthesizer by kind of a lot of like proper classical kind of people. So this year you've got like Rainbow in Curved Air, you got Radigate's Feedback Works, you got Morton Subotnick, which is like this is where you get into the really serious stuff like John Appleton, Syntonic Menagerie, James Tenney, which is the one that's like the shepherd tone that just goes on for about 20 minutes, like Roland Kane, Parmigiani. Then you've got like avant-garde acoustics, so like Xenakis is kind of like, when we're talking about methodology, like he's making music that is based on maths. And then you've got people like Stockhausen who's still doing like acoustic stuff as well as the electronic stuff. So he does some stuff that's like, I think it's like Expo, which is like 3 singers with 3 radio scanners, but he does like the third bit of hymnen. And like you can sort of put Trout Mask alongside those in that it's like a very serious record that's kind of like rethinking about how to do music. And yeah, I think there's only one record that maybe apart from the Red Crayola actually, or maybe not, I don't know, like that kind of sits alongside it. Can you have a guess what it is? I remember, this is just my opinion, and you might disagree.
Record that sits along, let's Trout Mask
from 69,
right?
That like you could sort of put alongside it. You could play them back to back, and I think you could spot some not necessarily musical similarities, not even methodological ones, but I think there's sort of something about them that I would put alongside each other.
I'm not so sure.
I can't think of a single one because I mean, what have you got?
Be prepared to tell me to F off then. But I think Philosophy of the World you can put alongside Trout Mask.
I to some degree, less intentional, and I guess that
you have to take intention and non-intention out of it.
So
I think in pure results.
If you just play listen and you put My Pal Foot next to Pachuco Cadaver, for example, I don't think they're that far. I think people would be, I'll give you that one. Alistair, do you want to chip in whether the Shags and B.E.F.O.U.T were neighbours?
Okay, there's a parallel.
I think that's all I'm really saying is that like, I think when you think about how records sound and like a lot of the far out stuff, I think goes quite serious and quite sort of into this kind of like head music. Or it goes into very much into the academy. Like here we've got something that's like playful, has these kind of like, there's a very distorted Americana going on here. And like
it's right in the middle, of a bunch of stuff, whether you're looking at some of the European with machine guns coming out around this time, it's an Albert Ayler's stuff and
well, that's the thing that I skipped over jazz because like I'd say that again this is a really kind of like reductive thing to say, but I think jazz sort of in its newer forms goes into 2 kind of parallel streams. You've got like Pharoah Sanders, Alice Coltrane, Don Cherry doing this spiritual stuff. That's happening, and then you've got like In a Silent Way, and you kind of your beginnings of like fusion.
Well, you get your art ensemble Chicago and stuff like Peter Brotzman as well, and Don Cherry and I mean they're less spiritual. They're going more into that noisy and avant-garde stuff. I think one of the points being as well, and is that maybe B.E.F.O.U.T wasn't listening to as much, although you kind of, from his background, his very arty background, you got to suspect that maybe he was. But once he crossed paths again with Zappa, I'm pretty sure Zappa was, because, you know, Zappa's out like the rest of the tone poems and all that stuff. It's like his knowledge of all the academic stuff. It's like, so, I mean, the main thing that is cited about the why he decided to make it is because somebody played him a cassette of them. They'd been chopping up, I guess, elements of this is Gary Marker, who was an engineer, and he was practicing splicing audio tape. And he played Don this thing again. It may probably apocryphal. He played him a cassette that had just lots of chops, and Don said, that's what I want that sound. So, you know, it sounds a little bit neat, you know, like when they all were in the studio recording We Will Rock You. All right, so yeah, it was in the air. There's something in the air, but Don nailed it in a way that only him and the Shags could have really had a go. So that takes us to the songs that came in fourth and fifth. I'm going to tell you what came in first and second, first and third album. I've gone this way so as to reveal the least possible. In fourth place was Moonlight on Vermont with 29 points, and down in fifth was Orange Claw Hammer with 23, most of which came from the 22 that I gave it. But let's have a listen to those two and see what happens.
A thick cloud caught a piper cub's tail, the match struck blue on a railroad rail. The old puff horse was just pulling through, and a man wore a peg leg forever. I'm on the bum where the hobos run, their breaks with filthy chatter. Oh, I don't care, there's no place there, I don't think it matters. My skin's blazing through and my clothes in tatters, and the railroad looked like a Y up the hill of ladders. One shoe fell on the gravel. Light on Vermont affected everybody, even Mrs. Wooten Wellers, little Nitty, even Lifeboy floating with his little pistol showing and his little pistol toting. Well, that goes to show you what a moon can do.
Proper notes, proper chords, proper choruses right there. You know, that's, I said that I lent away from novelty, which I didn't. I packed my top 10 with novelty, but in my mind, I questioned myself. I also questioned very much the ones that were a little bit too, quote unquote, easy, such as, you know, these two that were recorded prior and feel like a little bit of they would have fit better on one of the first two records. But Alistair, what are your thoughts on Moonlight on Vermont and Orange Claw Hammer, and which one is best?
Well, that's a difficult one, isn't it, Brendan? Moonlight on Vermont, that is probably like like you're saying, proper chords, proper chorus. It's like sing-alongy bit at the end. It's one that you could stick on a comp tape and people wouldn't know that it was from this LP, probably, like, you know, if they didn't know it. But yeah, the guitar on it, I love the really, really nasty, high-pitched guitar going all the way through it. And you got that really lovely little drum fill at the beginning, which I think sets it off. And that's like a bit of a hook, really. Orange Claw Hammer, I think for the ones which are just sort of cappella, it's my favourite one. There's a couple of interesting lyrics in there, which you're just going like, what the hell is he going on about? What the flips of cherry phosphate? I've no idea.
Oh, it's just a drink?
Might be, yeah. Yeah, I've never had one. Well, yeah, it's interesting. It keeps me entertained. I don't know why, because it is just like an a cappella thing, but I've got a soft spot for it.
Yeah, so DB put Moonlight on Vermont in his fourth, and Chrissy put it top. He also gave a good chunk of Chrissy also gave a good chunk of points to Orange Claw, and Leon put Orange Claw third. I had it in second. I mean, again, it does the same thing that Still Softly does, where it's like recording a couple of lines, and you got to imagine that it's at least semi-improvised. The melody is basically the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald by Gordon Lightfoot. It's a very simple, traditional kind of like seafaring kind of, not quite a shanty, but a kind of and it's a very straightforward story in many ways. I absolutely love it, but again, is it Trout masky enough when it goes up? Well, that's this question for both of these. One was recorded way before and feels like a stepping stone. The other one feels like it's interlude or whatever. Yeah, DB, where do you stand? Well, we know where you stand from your voting.
Well, I mean, last week as we were signing off, you said no, don't vote Moonlight in Vermont, and I presume, is that for this reason, because it's not a trout mask?
When I was thinking, yeah, that was the first one that jumped out, and actually after a good number of listens this week, I'm like, it's not that far, but in my mind, it's always a massive outlier, like they just put the greatest hits single in the middle of
Yeah, like where Young Lovers do on Astral Weeks, or
something like that. Yeah, well, you got an incongruous single right in the middle of an album that would work much better without it. And I don't quite think that at this point, but no, yeah.
I sort of see where you're coming from. I think it's a fantastic brill building pop ditty that works for the record. I think the sounds make it rather than the songwriting in that sense, that like make the connection. Orange Claw is my favorite of the spoken word one, like really good, like cosmic poetry meets Dust Bowl. I know you say seafaring, and I think you're right. I think this is when we need to kind of like AI resurrect Alan Lomax to sort of tell us how like that kind of path would have been linked from the Dust Bowl to the sea, because I do think that there is a connection there. But yeah, two fantastic ones. Moonlight from my easy listening perspective might even be my favorite, but like I was feeling a bit more challenged when I listened to it, so I went for something else.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a vote. It's just the three of us in the room, because the other people might help us when we are in a tie. But as we know, it comes down to the two of us. Now there was 6 points in it, which isn't a huge amount. Which way are you going, Dan?
I'll vote with my heart and say Moonlight.
All right, Alistair, which way are you going?
I'm going to go for Moonlight. It's more of a complete offering, really, isn't it?
I thought you would. However, and I won't try and change your mind, you've got to assume that all the ones above it are also those kind, because we've already done all the other novelty ones are kind of out at this point. So I think this is the last one that the last one of those, but really it was cheating because I gave it so many points, right?
It's right that it should challenge, but I think it's also right that it should be eliminated and shot by the side of the road.
I get it, because if it goes to the next round, I don't know if it's necessarily bringing anything, and it's a very, very straightforward tune, but it's lovely. It's absolutely beautiful. But Moonlight in Vermont is the first one that goes through. That takes us down to what came third against what came sixth. In sixth place with 22 points was My Human Gets Me Blues. And in third place with 36 points, so a good chunk ahead, is Big Joan. Big Joan being my favorite song. Alistair's got it in second. Dan's got it in third. So without wanting to name the deceased before we go forward, let's have a listen to Big Joan and whatever it's up against.
Hoy, hoy! Big Joan comes out, her arms are too small, her head's like a ball. She tied off her horse and galloped off into the moonbeams. She pulled up her blouse and compared her navel to the moon. I did my life for a while. Saw you, baby, dancing in your X-ray gingham dress. I knew you were under duress. I knew you under your dress. keep coming, Jesus, you're the best dressed. You look dandy in the sky, but you don't scare me, 'cause I got you here in my eye. In this lifetime, you got my human, gets me blue.
Yes, indeed, DB. My human versus the other one,
Joan.
Big John.
Yeah, I think there's a similarity in these, and they do sound like mutant dance songs. Like you can, I think you can dance them. Like Big John sounds like the Charleston's having a nervous breakdown. My human, less Charleston here. What would we say that kind of rhythm? A dun dun. I guess they feel a bit pre-war to me. I think the reason Big John wins this round, I'm going to play my cards right now because I think these are both great songs. I could see it on your face while it was happening, Brandon. The raunchy lyrics are not. They're not quite my cup of tea here, but like it does. I suppose like if the song is about that kind of like physicality of movement, it kind of works. But I don't know, like was it the X-ray gingham? No, stop.
X-ray gingham. The line, "I knew you under duress. I knew you under your dress."
Yeah,
it's funny. It's silly. I'm not going to talk in too many points, but it's
No, but like there's, for instance, one of the Reddits I follow is crappy music. I don't know if you ever look on that. And like one of the songs that's kind of blowing up on crappy music is this. It's like some like hick country thing, whereas the line is, "She was born in Tennessee. She's the only 10 I see." And it's just that. It's this. Right. And like as soon because I've heard it around the same time, it's like I'm not having this kind of like raunchy pun. Get out. Big John's a better song anyway.
Big John's a better song. I mean, the silliness of the Big Joan. So I know I banged on about how some of the silliness I'm not always on board for, but there's something just delightfully ridiculous. My mum's name is Joan also, which endears me to this, but just it's so gentle and it's the flip side of El Guru almost. Yeah, El Guru is kind of this wonderful woman, he's in awe of her, and then he's kind of like, he's got this other woman who's, he's going to stay with her. He's with her the whole time, even though they laugh at her body on the beach because her hands are too small. And it's in the wrong hands. And again, we've already seen how he can be way off the mark with some of his stuff, but this could have been genuinely offensive in 2026. And I don't think it is. I think it comes across as endearing that he's, whatever it is about this woman, he still loves her or he still respects her, even though they laugh at her because of her tiny hands. I don't know. It's delightful. And the music's great. It's one of the it's like again on the edge of like silliness and this atonality-ish, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Alistair, where do you stand on Big John and my human?
Big John, really love. The groove to it, the riff reminds me of something. It's like a song off the B.E.E.F.O.U.T tapes, but it's got a similar groove to it. But yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? I'd love to hear something like Square Pusher having a go at covering it. That'd be funny. But yeah, you got like complex beats in there, animal torture, clarinet, and sax. Yeah, love it. There's great groove to it. Human Gets Me Blues is just thoroughly evil sounding, so I quite like it for that.
There was a suggestion, but I watched this guy who does the worst albums in the world, and he's a very charming fellow, and they're very funny episodes. He did try Mask. I watched it. He seemed to suggest that this was about transgender, and he was actually saying that he got that impression and felt that like B.E.F.O.U.T was kind of really on board and open to this. Now, there's nothing to suggest that Don was or wasn't. I don't know. And I can't read anything into it, but there's definitely something in there. I think the lyrics for this one, aside from the bawdy humor, was kind of like almost heading towards your Lou Reed kind of stuff, where it's sort of, I could see how there's something going on with this woman that he's looking at that's a little bit there's something going on that he can't quite get, that there's some tension in there.
I wasn't necessarily alluding to trans earlier, but like this kind of question of like a hidden life, I think works for that. There's things under the surface of things. Is a theme of this record, I think, and that could be one of them. I'd have to think about
under
it
your
more.
dress. Wait, we should ask Moby what he thinks. Anyway, let's have a vote. Which way you going, Alistair? You going for Big Joan or Human?
Big Joan.
Joan, yeah, easy. It's my top song. So, Dan, you as well, or?
All day, every day.
All day, every day. It's a great song. So, as much as I'm not fully on board with Moonlight Vermont representing this in round 2, Big Joan, absolutely. She's going to storm it. So that takes us to what came second up against what came 7th, which was Sugar and Spikes in 7th place with 20 points. Veterans Day Poppy, 38. Joint top with the song that you can probably guess because we haven't mentioned it yet, that did come top with also 38 points. Snur came in at the last minute, gave Veterans Day 10 points, although he also gave 8 points to the other song, and that's how close it was. They both got 38, but because, with my made-up rules, because the other song was voted top by 2 people and Veterans Day was only 1, I'm putting it through. Though, to be honest, Veterans Day's probably not going to have its work cut out. Though I'm going to be slightly disappointed that the 2 tracks that were recorded prior to the album are 50% of the songs that are representing it. But that's, that tells you a lot about what the consensus is on.
It tells us a lot about how good this album actually is.
Let's have a listen to Veterans Day Poppy against Sugar and Spice and Everything Nice.
In sugar and spikes, in neon lights, in walks and lights and chains, carving smoke, moving hope, gone the sky rush by. Fall back and dark, fall back and dark. I steam stale, shoes move, blooming pale. Hello, dime store sale. I can't buy your Veterans Day Poppy. It don't get me high, it can only make me cry. It can never grow another son like the one who warned me my days after.
I mean, it is beautiful. I can't argue with that. It's for me, it's the best straight up pop song on the record. It's the A-side single, but it irks me a little bit that it was recorded beforehand because I'm a purist. Alistair, what's your take on these 2? Yeah.
They're both quite accessible, aren't they? Really, proper structures, proper chords. Singing even, but it's still like kind of like avant pop, if you know what I mean. But yeah, Veterans Day Poppy, I love the structure to it, and there's a bit where like John French chucks a paddy at the end, which I really love that. But yeah, I struggle to sort of say which was my favourite with these 2 because it depends what mood I'm in, really. But yeah, I think it's Sugar and Spikes. It's like that's a bit more of an energetic tune towards, well, just in general, because at the end of the Veterans Day Poppy, it does drop down a bit. So that's a bit more of a, if in a hyper mood, where Veterans Day Poppy a bit more chilled out, I'll probably go for that.
For me, the chorus of Sugar and Spikes is possibly the worst thing on the entire album. It's so incongruous and cheesy. On top of the fact that they do seem to be playing the new drug Ghostbusters riff. Now, obviously, it predates it, but I can't. It doesn't predate my knowledge of Ghostbusters 1 or 2. DB, what's your take on these two?
I agree with that assessment of Sugar and Spikes, but I just think that the intro and verses are just so bloody great. That's why it's above Veterans Day Poppy. There is also, I would like to kind of return to an earlier theme that I explored on Dachau Blues. It don't get me high, it can only make me cry, it can never grow another sun. Like this kind of like war critique is, I don't know. And then there's the slightly crap bit where he's like, "It don't get me high, it can only make me cry." So it's like, yeah, I know you want to use it for heroin, but I'm sad. Like, come on, man. Like, so, but it's a good song. But like, yeah, I mean, this is the one that like it doesn't feel like it's directly from the record in a bad way. Whereas Moonlight in Vermont feels like it's a precursor to the mayhem and beauty of this record. So. There's a reason why Sugar and Spikes was like number 2 or 3 in my list, and why Veterans Day Poppy was nearer the bottom and would not get in that top 10 were I to rewrite that list.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've got Sugar and Spikes in 2nd and Veterans in 6th. Veterans only get 1 point from me, and Sugar and Spikes doesn't appear at all. And Alistair's got Veterans Day 3rd and Sugar and Spikes 5th. So in our lists, very close. It's the internet people that have kind of
ruined it like they always do.
Massive points for Veterans Day Poppy, like between them, yeah, they got like 20 points or something like that. So interesting if we are to overturn it, though. Unfortunately for me, Human Gets the Blues or any other number, I would have been happy to go through. But Veterans Day, let alone from the fact that the Fall liberally pinched lines for it for scenario. A terrible song off Reformation post TLC. Yeah, I don't know if I've got much more to say. It's a great tune, Veterans Day Poppy, but is it Trout Mask? Should it be representing? Sugar and Spikes? Awful, but very Trout Masky. Which way are we voting? DB, you've already played your hand.
Well, Sugar and Spikes is not awful. It is representative. Yeah, like it's weird. Like I'm now sort of regretting these two being in the playoff, but like, yeah, Sugar and Spikes all day.
Fair enough. I mean, there's 18 points between them, so it's not going to go down well with the people when the inevitable happens. But Alistair, which way are you going?
I'm going to be consistent for once and go with Veterans Day Poppy because I think it's scored that higher on my list of the top 10.
Yeah, I am really torn because I do think that 2 of the tracks that gone through are representative. So I'm going to stick with mine too because Sugar and Spikes, I don't think it needs to go through. So yeah, Veterans Day Poppy it is, and that means if you can guess, Alistair, what came number 1?
Elaguru.
Elaguru, is it you? The T-Rex cover. Elaguru. Let's listen to a little bit of Mark Bolan and Johnny Peregrine Walker. Yeah, so that's it. So I'll play Elaguru on the way out. We'll have a listen. But what are your thoughts on EG before we go our separate ways on the way to licking our decals off? DB, what do you think of Elaguru?
It's sexy and playful, and it kind of reminds me of the good bits that I enjoyed from Safe as Milk, kind of carried over and moved into this kind of more mutant form. It just feels like obviously the best one. Like I think as it won by a landslide, I was away from my machine for a second there.
No, it scored equal to Veterans Day Poppy.
Oh, of course, I said,
yeah. But even then, Dagobah 38, Big Joan 36, and yeah, the top 3 are a little bit of a way because the next one down is Moonlight in Vermont with 29, and then a big drop off to 23. So yeah, Big Joan, Veterans Day, and Elaguru were all there or thereabouts.
Yeah,
which I think
it's a no-brainer for me with this album. I think it's easily. If you'd have asked me to do it without listening again, I would have said that.
I think so. It stands out as the top pop tune. It's got some real insistent like mini riffages going on there, but then again, it does have a real chorus and a silly chorus. It's not as silly as Sugar and Spikes, but I wrote my first notes as like some of these choruses, they take me way out of it. It's the most hummable tune, and Stockhausen would not be on board with that. I love and hate this aspect of Trout Mask, but there's this beautiful horizontal riffing going on all the way through it. So I think actually it's probably a beautiful way to represent this madness. Yeah, Alistair, anything to say on Ella Guru?
That's it, Jeff. Justice has been done. It's a lovely song, isn't it? Like you said, it just keeps on going all over the place. There's some great riffs that are like not repeating. You know, they just kind of like progressing as they go along. But yeah, it comes back to the chorus, and yeah, it's perfect kind of example of a song off Trout Mask Replica.
I think so. And so that means that Moonlight and Vermont, Big Joan, Veterans Day Poppy, and Ella Guru go through to the second round, the showdown. And it means that next time we'll be looking at both Lick My Decals Off, plus dipping back into Mirror Man, which of course was recorded earlier and isn't a real album, and we've already looked at some of the songs, but why the hell not? It is the next record. So we're going to look at the Decal and Mirror Man, the album, next time, if that's all right with you. And I'll play us out with Ella Guru and that madness from whatever they're called, Mecha Godzilla. All right. See you later, chaps. Bye.
Bye.
Now here she come walking, looking like a zoo. Hi Ella Guru. She know all the colors that nature do. Hi Ella Guru. Hi yellow, hi red, hi blue, she blew. Hi yellow Guru. She do what she mean and she do what she do. Got something for me, got something for you. She shows something.